Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stu here from Spain Speaks with an update about the current situation in Spain, a bit of a feedback video. We'll also go over some of the things that are happening around the country at the moment related to the health crisis obviously, and a couple of other things that are happening in Spain. Today another beautiful day out in the garden again. I have to make the most of this weather because it's not going to last for too much longer. It's going to start to get cold fairly soon, and I don't think I'm going to be able to do these videos outside unless I get some of those gas heaters to keep me warm while I'm filming outdoors. And if you don't live in Madrid or you don't know much about this part of the world, this is an area that has quite extreme temperatures, cold winters and hot summers. There's quite a big difference between the temperatures in the winter months and the temperatures in the summer months. Summers can be very hot, very dry, and winters can also be quite cold. Obviously not as cold as some places in the north of Europe or in North America, but compared to other parts of Spain, especially the south of Spain, Madrid can be fairly cold. It doesn't rain a lot. It's a fairly dry cold. In fact, it normally rains quite a lot around this time of the year, but we haven't had much rain so far. So expecting a little bit of rain in coming days. But here in December, January, February, for example, very cold, very dry, and not easy to sit outside and do videos. So if you're planning on coming to Spain and you want good weather, I wouldn't recommend this part of the world. And of course, here we are today, day 219 of the health crisis, and it's been a long 219 days. I'm not going to lie, it hasn't been an easy time getting used to the new situation, and basically that's what it is. It's just the question of getting used to the new situation, used to the new rules, used to the new regulations, all of the things that you can and can't do now in Spain. State of alarms, restrictions, confinements, have to wear a mask everywhere you go, and for some people it's not easy to adapt. The health minister came out the other day and said that they're planning to change the way they deal with the coronavirus here in Spain. They're not talking about state of alarms anymore. They're not talking about severe lockdowns, but they're talking about a new alert system where different parts of Spain will be in some type of alert or another, depending on the health statistics. And I think the criteria they're going to use is around 250 cases per 100,000 inhabitants. And I think that's going to be the extreme scenario, but there's going to be different stages for different places according to where they are regarding health. So for example, an area like the Canary Islands, which doesn't have a high incidence rate at the moment, might find themselves in an alert 1 situation. The Valencian community as well, where the numbers are quite good, but the Madrid community, Castilla, León, Navarra, La Rioja, which are some of the worst areas in the country, might find themselves with the maximum alert. And of course, there's going to be a series of restrictions in place according to the level you find yourself in. And most likely those restrictions are going to be related to mobility. You might be confined to your city or town. You might not have the freedom to travel to another part of Spain. Curfews could also be something that they impose. People might not be allowed to go outside after 9 p.m. and of course closing down bars, restaurants and other places where people gather, and the government thinks that there's a high risk of infection in those places. Now I think the central government has said that they're not going to continue with the state of alarm in Madrid, but they want to get this new system up and running by the end of the week, and I think they're going to announce it on Thursday because the state of alarm in Madrid finishes on Friday, so I think they want to get this new system up and running, as I said, before then. So we'll keep an eye on that in coming days. Now, as I just mentioned a minute ago, Castilla y León is one of the hotspots in the country at the moment. Various cities in that autonomous community have gone into restrictions or confinements. We spoke about Salamanca, I think León City as well. Palencia is also another city there, and it's been announced today that Burgos, about 200 kilometers north of Madrid, is also going into a confinement situation as of this evening, with new restrictions placed on the population there. So Castilla y León having problems getting the virus under control in its community. Now, a piece of news about the furlough schemes here in Spain caught my attention today. Apparently it's estimated that some 200,000 jobs are going to be lost by the end of the year. Jobs that are currently furloughed or in this ERTE scheme that they call here, ERTE scheme. And it's being forecasted that some 200,000 jobs, as I mentioned, won't be recovered and lost by the end of the year, so not good news there. These jobs are obviously in some of the sectors that have been hardest hit by the pandemic here in Spain. Restaurants, hotels, a lot of small businesses that obviously haven't been able to do business freely for the last 6 months. They put the workers into the furlough scheme, and obviously business is not viable enough for people to come back to those jobs. So not very good news there as far as employment is concerned. Now, I mentioned in yesterday's video the mask price controversy. Somebody went to Portugal and found masks a lot cheaper than they are in Spain, and that of course has led a lot of people to question the price of masks in Spain. And the government at the moment has VAT set on masks at 21%, whereas in other countries in the European Union, the VAT on masks has been brought down to more reasonable numbers. I think in Portugal it's about 6%, in other countries around 4%, and possibly in some other countries there's no VAT on masks at all. And here in Spain, it has become a first necessity. You have to wear a mask everywhere you go in this country, and a lot of people, of course, are buying surgical masks. Every time you go to the supermarket, you pick up some bread, you pick up some milk, you pick up some fruit, and of course, when you're at the checkout waiting to pay, the packet of masks there is on display and you add it to your shopping, and it is an extra expense. And for large families, it can be quite an extra expense every month. But for the time being, the government refuses to lower that VAT amount. The tax minister came out the other day and said that there was some type of European law which impeded them from lowering that VAT, but then we saw that in Portugal, and as I said, other countries around Europe have been able to do it. But Spain refusing to do it and obviously raking in the tax dollars from the sale of masks. So no doubt a lot more people that are living close to the Portuguese border will cross over into that country and buy masks in the future. There is a lot of trade between the two countries. Portuguese people come into Spain to buy things like petrol, other things at the supermarket that are a lot cheaper here in Spain than in Portugal. For example, shampoo, toothpaste, deodorant, a lot cheaper here in Spain than in Portugal. So Portuguese people come over to buy those things, and Spanish people now going across the border to buy face masks. And while we're on the subject of Portugal, things there seem to be getting a lot stricter. The amount of COVID cases continues to increase, and the government has decided they need to bring in stricter measures in order to get the health situation under control. And I even heard the other day that the Prime Minister is talking about making face masks compulsory in Portugal when you find yourself in a crowded area. So the majority of European countries now struggling with this second wave of the virus. Now, just a quick update on the school situation here in Spain. Everybody knows that my son went back to school, and everybody was a bit worried that schools were going to be shut down, that kids would have to go into an online learning type scenario again. Well, it hasn't happened yet, at least at my son's school. It has been happening in various schools around the country that, of course, classrooms have had to shut down because of infections. But as far as I know, no schools have shut down entirely. So they're trying to go about their day-to-day living with this new situation. Universities, unfortunately, have been affected in some parts of Spain. Universities in Salamanca, Granada, and a couple of other places around Spain have seen their year interrupted. Of course, it's been in the press recently that students and their love of partying is one of the reasons for this. And I think in Granada they shut down all face-to-face classes for a period of 15 or 20 days in order to try to get the virus under control. And of course, a lot of students are not happy with this, and they are protesting and saying that there are other ways to deal with this problem instead of having to shut the whole system down. So we'll see what happens there in coming weeks. And we'll also see if some university students can get it into their head that this is a problem that needs to be taken seriously. And one here to finish up, I saw a comment there from somebody who is currently in the Valencian community, enjoying the weather down there, and he's weighing up whether to stay in Valencia or head to the Canary Islands. And he asked which is the better option, stay in Valencia or go to the Canary Islands. Now, of course, living here in Madrid, I'm not an expert on either of those two places, but I know that the weather can be fairly good in both places over the winter months. Of course, Valencia, it's not going to be as good as the Canary Islands, as the Canary Islands has a fairly stable weather, and it is the place to be in the winter months. Whereas in Valencia, you can get a couple of weeks maybe, or maybe even a month of cold weather. Of course, it's not going to be anywhere near as cold as it is in the center of Spain, but I don't think you can compare Valencia with the Canary Islands for those winter months. So if I were you, I would head to the Canary Islands because you'll be able to go to the beach, you'll be able to walk around in a t-shirt and shorts, and you'll be able to enjoy fantastic weather in these winter months. But hey, that's just my opinion. But if you are in the Canary Islands, or if you are in the Valencian community, which place would you recommend for this gentleman? On that note, I'll start to wrap the video up. Questions and comments, please leave them in the section below. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. Debate the situation out as you normally do. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego.